KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader when the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming and I reap what I done sowed. Hey, hey. Well, let me tell you something, all that glitters ain't gold. Hey, hey. It's been a long old troublesome road. And I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load. I need a dollar,
KBLA Talk
dollar,
1580.
dollar, that's what I need.
That's become our reparations theme song. Need a dollar or a few trillion. And this is Freedmen Friday. We do it every Friday in the second hour of the show. We talk about reparations. Today is no exception. We have a reparations all-star in the building to give us some perspective on the election that is pending in a reparationist lens. He grew up in Gardena. His mom is a nurse. He is a lifelong Angelino. He obviously, served as a state senator, and he served on the Insurance Commission when he was in the California State Legislature. He also has a long history of public service in Los Angeles. Steven Bradford, good morning, Senator.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Great to have you on. Obviously, when you were in the state Senate, you championed reparations. You were part of the task force, an historic task force, and you've seen a lot of ups and downs. What in 2020 seemed much more viable, in today's environment of anti-DEI and sort of retraction of things that are meant to help black people, it seems less viable, but it seems also that people keep marching on with the reparations agenda.
We have to. The push has to continue. We just can't stop simply because of one little roadblock. I think about our ancestors and all that they went through, and imagine if they would have stopped just at one little hiccup. So the fight continues. And unfortunately, like I say, they always say strike when the iron's hot. The iron was sizzling in 2023 and 2024. It was ripe. The whole nation was watching California, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get over the finish line. But our work continues.
Right, and there has been some progress since. Not as much as we would all like to see, but some progress. But rewinding to the task force itself, you spent 2 years of your life on this project. When you were doing that, did you think that it was going to catch on the way it has nationally? Now we have dozens and dozens of cities that have reparations commissions, counties, and even states taking this on.
New York modeled exactly what we did. Senator James Sanders has put together a similar task force in New York, and he modeled it after what we were doing. We had a variety of Zooms. He asked me to participate as he was shaping up what they were doing in New York. Yes, other states have looked at what California has done. As you stated, even a lot of cities like San Francisco took it upon themselves to create their own reparations task force. The city of Los Angeles has done so as well. So, as we often say, so goes California, so goes the nation. So that's a prime example of how we were, that North Star that people were following.
And the commission that you sat on left a document that can be used as a guideline, not just for the future of California, and is being used, but can be used by other cities, counties. So whatever happens, I mean, I feel like you guys made history and really did something super significant in the history of reparations.
There's a 1,500-page, roadmap to what we discovered and put forth as recommendations and as some of the obstacles and things that we face. So no, it's clearly laid out in our final report. So it's there. It's all there.
How did you feel when the UN came back with the resolution that they did, saying that slavery was the gravest crime against humanity and in support of reparations?
It told the truth, and a lot of Americans need to admit to that. I mean, we wouldn't be the country we are today if it wasn't for slavery. We built this country, and now you have an individual in Washington tearing down the same house that slaves built. Slaves built the White House, and now he's tearing it down to build this monument to himself. But no, I'm glad the UN came to that resolution, and a lot of other nations have realized what a horrible crime and action that slavery was and the impact that it had not only on America but on the rest of the world as well.
I was sad that the U.S., Argentina, and Israel were the only folks that voted against it, but it passed nonetheless. Did that experience of 2 years on the task force, how did that change you?
It made me more aware, even though, I've lived in this country, I'm American, I'm African-American. It was so much I still didn't know. I mean, as they say, there's stories that made America, and then it's stories that America's made up. Much of what we teach in school is the stories that America's made up, and we made America, and slavery made America. And I learned so much, and so many other folks learned so much about our contributions, but more importantly, our sacrifices to this country and how slavery impacted us. We have this image that African Americans for so long didn't value education, because if your life was threatened for learning to read, learning to write, that's what slaves lost their lives over. Reading, over education, had their eyes gouged out because they could read, had their kids murdered because they were educated. So that carried on for years, but African Americans at the turn of the 20th century, we had more HBCUs than any other private institutions of higher education in the country than anybody, but nobody knew that. Or I shouldn't say nobody knew that. A lot of people didn't know that. So we do value education, but look at what we had to go through in order to obtain that education. We're probably the only people in this country that lost our lives trying to be educated. So I learned so much about that as well.
Now, Steven Bradford, you know him as a state senator and city councilman, yeah.
Assemblyman.
I forgot about the assembly. Yeah, you did your time, you've done your time citywide. And one of the things, I guess, that you really learned or uncovered during your time in the state office is about the private sector piece. When we talk about reparation, when we talk about healing financially and emotionally from enslavement, we also have to look at some point, we have to start looking at private business, right? Corporations. We're starting to see that in the educational space. Some of these educational institutions, even religious institutions, taking accountability, taking inventory. Talk to me about this insurance registry.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. In 2000, former senator, late Senator Tom Hayden, introduced a piece of legislation that created the slave-era insurance registry. Under the Department of Insurance, all insurance companies that wrote insurance on slaves or enslaved ships are required to bring that information forward to help with genealogy, to help with reparations. I mean, all the documentation that they have as it relates to insuring slaves has to be brought forth, and it's being compiled in the Department of Insurance, but very few people are aware of that. I mean, the insurance department didn't even testify in those 2 years because we weren't aware. I should say that the task force wasn't aware of that. I think had we been aware of that, we would have brought them forward to find out exactly what they have and what documents I should say they have in order to bring forth, because that's what they're supposed to be doing, compiling this information and help families learn about their genealogy and help establish reparations as well.
So this is an ongoing process based on this measure that, this policy that Hayden passed in 2000. So it's an ongoing process. They're still collecting data from insurance companies?
They're supposed to, but like I say, it's been very little talk. The registry exists, but it needs to be stepped up. People need to shine a light on it because, again, the task force was unaware of this because we would have had them come forth and testify and understand what information they did have. But
and that's that could be a lot of key information because they were treating people as property. So I'd imagine there's very detailed records.
I mean, those slave ships were all insured. Again, slaves were treated, like you say, as property. And people, I remember during the Reparations Task Force, people were saying, where's my check? And I was always saying reparations wasn't about money per se. It was about land. But I says those who did get a check were the slave owners who had those slaves insured. So I says, yes, if there is going to be a check, here's what that check should be about. But yes, those slave owners got a check. And we're still trying to ask for our 40 acres and a mule, but those slave owners did get a check.
Well, you're running for insurance commissioner this election season. How do you see, should you win, how do you see moving with that registry, with that slave era insurance registry, which sounds crazy to even say it, but it also sounds like it could be a treasure trove of information.
It can be, and I'm definitely going to stand it up. I'm going to highlight it because I don't think any insurance commissioner since 2000, since it's been established, has really push forward to make sure that it's viable and it's doing what it was meant to do. So that's been 26 years since that law was passed. So I want to make sure people are aware of that, and those companies come forward with the information that they have to help, families, like I say, with their genealogy and in helping California move forward with really providing reparations to those folks who were harmed the most.
It's a Freedmen Friday. We're talking with Senator, Assemblyman, Councilman Steve Bradford, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
It's a Freedmen Friday. Steven Bradford is here. He's a state senator, but I call him a reparations all-star because he really has gone hard for this movement in introducing legislation and sitting on that task force for 2 years in the advocacy around Bruce's Beach, which some say isn't strictly reparations, but it's certainly in the reparations wheelhouse when you talk about restitution. Any regrets about all of that? You know, a lot of politicians, lawmakers think that's the third rail, like this is toxic for their careers.
No, not at all. I always want to, push the issues, that a lot of folks run from. I mean, why serve in these positions if you're not willing to really stretch the limits and go beyond what people think is possible? That's what courage is about. That's what resiliency is about, and that's what leadership is about. So that's what I've always been about.
Yeah. Also, I mean, we want that. I think we, the voters, want that. We want you to be bold. We want you to be, not get in there and just try to, be safe all the time.
Performative, rubber stamp. No, I want to think outside the box. I mean, people need real leadership, especially in this time right now. And we just don't need people to go along to get along. And that's what we find too often in not only politics, but in life in general. So step out that comfort zone.
It's funny, though, because this is Freedmen Friday. We talk about reparations, and most of us would say, what does reparations have to do with insurance? You're running for insurance commissioner, but you just broke it down. There's a whole registry, or there's meant to be a registry. If it's not there, the law is there, so that means that action could be taken to get this data, whatever information still, exists, and put it in a central location.
And people don't understand, a lot of these insurance companies, these massive major corporations, were stood up by the slave industry. And we're unaware, many people are unaware of that. I mean, these companies were created because they were insuring slaves in the late 1700s and 1800s, and now they're major corporations, global corporations today because of the slave industry.
So in other words, they made their initial profit base insuring slave ships.
Yes, without a doubt.
Wow.
And slaves itself.
I mean, you wouldn't think that would be so profitable since so many perished on those trips, but apparently was.
Yeah,
well,
it was.
That's wild. And again, a lot of reparations efforts initially started with lawsuits and legal action. People like Charles Ogletree, they did not find success. And now this era has been about the legislative line, and that has seen some success. But maybe accountability, or at least information, as you've said, from these corporations is a front that we haven't fully explored yet.
Yeah, we have to do a deeper dive because, again, a lot of these corporations are here today because of the role they played during the slave era. And so we need to know that information. America needs to know that information because they do have a debt to pay.
I mean, it's pretty foundational information. Have you endorsed in the governor's race? Let's start there since so many people are confused. I've heard some reparationists say, well, the only person that's come out for reparations, the only candidate is Steyer. I know that Becerra said he was interested in it as far as housing goes. I know that Viragosa also said something about housing, but he didn't specifically embrace the concept of reparations. Do you think that plays a role in the governor's race? Have you endorsed? What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't endorsed, but it should play a role. I mean, we need a governor who's going to stand up all this work that we did with the task force and be willing to move forward. They can't hide behind this. I mean, this is, like I say, reparations is not charity. it's a debt that was owed. It was promised. It's 160 years old, past due, and people continue to say, "Oh, California wasn't a slave state." Yes, we were. We just weren't in name, but in actions, we had a fugitive slave law. If you were brought here as a slave and you gave birth as a slave, your child was born here as a slave. He wasn't born here as a free person. So we had a governor the first governor of California who owned slaves. So we do have a role to play, and we do need a governor who is willing to stand up and speak up and really put a foundation for it and making sure that reparations is real. Yeah, it might not be a check, but we have to look at, I've always said reparations could very well model the GI Bill, where you have education, first-time home buyers assistance, small business loans, things of that nature that you get with the GI Bill. We could very well make reparations look like that.
I mean, and if we look at it's in hindsight, we had that huge fail where the Legislative Black Caucus didn't even bring to the floor some of your bills, and then I think we've had 2 more sessions since then. And some stuff has gotten passed, but the governor has vetoed a whole bunch of stuff. So if you were confused about why, what a major force behind the first failure was, clearly it had to be the governor. I mean, the CLBC, there may have been interpersonal politics. I don't know. You know more than I do. We've talked about this before. But clearly, whether they would have presented it or not, the governor was only willing to go so far.
That's true. Very much so. And he showed it.
So to me, that says that reparations has to be, if you are a reparationist, you have to pay attention to governor. Because whatever caucus, the legislative, Republican, Democratic, whoever, if they bring a bill and the governor don't sign it, it is not the law.
Exactly. So that is so true. You need a governor that's going to be pro-reparations for sure.
So what are the questions we should be asking ourselves? Because we can say, well, this one said he's for it, and that one's kind of for it, and this one's doesn't really seem to know what it is. What should we be asking? Like, what would you ask if you were, if you were interviewing a candidate to see where they stood on this issue?
I mean, just straight up, do you support reparations? And if so, what do you see as reparations? How would you describe reparations? If it's not a check, how would you establish reparations, and what form of payment that you would provide to descendants of slaves that helped build this country? What would you feel is just compensation? If it's not money, what other means of compensation would you provide? Be specific on that. Like I say, if it's ongoing education, it's first-time home buyers assistance, no interest business loans. They have to be specific on what they're willing to provide, because we can. And let's say there could be a check. I mean, how much would that check be? People are asking for millions. We don't have enough money in this country to to make those families whole, but we can start. The wealth gap in this country between white families and black is $370,000. I would say that would be the floor. If you're going to pay a family, that would be the floor, not the ceiling. But ask them if they have a dollar amount that they're willing to consider.
Yeah, those are great questions. If let's say in an imaginary scenario, we have a Governor Chad Bianco, who is, clearly not going to support reparations. He's basically MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. And you happen to be insurance commissioner. Say you win, and Bianco wins. Can you move forward with this, activation of the 2000 Tom Hayden law that brings, that enabled a slavery era insurance registry? Would you still be able to move in that space?
Without a doubt. I mean, that's under the Department of Insurance. You have an elected insurance commissioner whose responsibility is to stand that department up and making sure that those interagencies work accordingly to the laws that have been established. So no, that insurance commissioner still would have that authority to move forward in that direction.
I mean, I find it really interesting, because one of the things that I'm loving about this terrible moment that we're living in history is the way that people are moving some things, and reparations is one of them. Whether it's locally, it's a county, a state, or a little policy here. It's amazing to me how people haven't stopped in the face of, although it's not illegal, the White House tries to make it seem like DEI is illegal. The Supreme Court has outlawed affirmative action, and people like Ed Bloom are going after, angel investors that try to help black people, or they're attacking the Black Student Achievement Program with private lawsuits. So it's almost like anything that's for black people specifically is being shut down under this administration. And yet we're still seeing progress. And that's why I ask you that question, because to me, the more pockets we can create where we're moving forward with our agenda until the 12 kinds of crazy is gone, the better off we are.
Yeah. And all we have to do is look back to our ancestors. They overcame far more than what we're facing today. And if they could do it, why cannot we? We have to be better coordinated, better organized, but more resolute than ever before. I mean, we have the resources to do it. We just have to bring it all together and be willing to fight. But again, it goes back to understanding, knowing our history, knowing the sacrifices that our ancestors made to bring us here. And that's all being eroded right now by this administration, all being eroded. And when you talk about reparations, but here you have a White House administration has now gotten 1.8, you might as well say $2 billion. So this president can now compensate those insurrectionists from January 6, 2021, but you say we can't find money for reparations. It's an insult.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. When I hear this, we don't have that money, but we have endless money to spend on a war in Iran, kidnapping a Venezuelan president, giving what Elie Mystal calls white grievance reparations to the January 6th insurrectionists. We have money for everything. We have money for we will see if he gets that ballroom money. But so it seems like we have money for everything except the repair of black folks. And I think that is one reason why we just don't buy that. Senator Steven Bradford is with me. It's a Freedmen Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Chicago leaders are rolling out a new summer safety strategy ahead of Memorial Day weekend. Black Mayor Brandon Johnson says the plan boosts resources in high-crime areas.
And this summer, we will continue leaning into what works, our partnerships, our investments, and, of course, coordination.
He's urging parents to talk with teens about the risks of large gatherings. Charges have been dismissed against a former Virginia school administrator tied to a 2023 classroom shooting. Ebony Parker had faced felony child neglect charges, but a judge ruled the evidence did not meet the legal standard for a conviction. And Spelman College is making history with 7 valedictorians in its class of 2026. The graduates, Nia Sarai Perry, Ayana Ringo, Alyssa Richardson, Coriana White, Sophia Davis, Mariama Diallo, and Alexis Sims are known as the Spelman 7, sharing top honors. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams are acting like they want to keep quarterback Matthew Stafford around for 2 more years. The 38-year-old Stafford is under contract for the coming season, but the Rams gave the reigning MVP a 1-year extension worth $55 million. The extension keeps Stafford under contract through the 2027 season if he chooses to play that long. San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama, in just his third NBA season, has something in common with Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Wembanyama and Kareem are the only two players in NBA history with at least 60 points and 40 rebounds in the first two games of a conference final. Wembanyama has collected 62 points and 41 rebounds in the first two games against Oklahoma City. Kareem had 69 points and 40 rebounds in the first two games in the 1974 Western Conference Finals against Chicago when he was with Milwaukee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Hi, I'm Fred Martin, founder of Compton Kids Club. I just want to talk about the authenticity and tell y'all about my homeboy, Tom Steyer. Tom is a rock star. When I met him, Tom gave a grant to schools in San Francisco. All the kids were on probation. We were flying instructors for 2 years to come and help those kids doing performing arts and turning their life around. Some of the kids that he supported, they've graduated from UCLA. Let's fast forward. Tom is in schools in Compton, hanging out with the kids in the piano classes. Brother Tom Steyer hangs out in the studio with us. These are the seeds that he's planted. This has nothing to do with elections. What's coming out of his mouth is not a campaign speech. It's authentic, and when he say he walks away from a business because he want to do his values, he ain't making that up because he's running for governor. This man is real.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
We are indeed, and we're talking on a Freedmen Friday with man I call a reparations all-star, Senator, former Assemblymember, former Councilmember, Steven Bradford. Senator Bradford also was on the California Reparations Task Force, a trailblazing body that has produced a massive report that you can still get online, which is a bit of a roadmap to reparations. And I was kind of asking you for your thoughts about the ballot that we have before us from a reparations standpoint. We talked a little bit about the governor. You haven't endorsed, but The only two that have really come out, well, I don't know. Steyer has said, yes, he's for it. Becerra has said he's for it in the form of housing. Villaraigosa also talked about housing, but didn't really embrace reparations as a concept. I don't think Porter has made any statement on it at all. We can guess where Bianco and Hilton are. Pretty much there in lockstep with the president. The president made a very strong statement against reparations when the UN put forth that resolution. Anything you would add to that as far as the sort of the picture painted around the governor's race? Because so many people are confused about who to vote for.
I mean, I think you touched upon, again, folks moving away from this issue of reparations.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to use that as a platform on their campaign, and I'm not saying it should, but I would love to know where they stand, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And be very direct about that. I mean, either you support it or you don't. I mean,
well, people have presidential ambitions. I mean, we saw Wes Moore veto in Maryland. Some folks said he did that because, the governor there, because of his presidential ambitions. He didn't say he doesn't support it. He said the time for studies is over, but we haven't seen him taking any action. In California, the governor, they did pass a study, another study, right? It's inside the university system. That was one of the things that the governor did sign this last round.
But we didn't need another study. We'd already done 2 years worth of study.
Right. A lot of reparationists were against that and seeing it as a stalling plan. Friday Jones says Porter gave a word salad when it came to reparations. Doesn't surprise me. But, you know, when you talk about other races, are there any other offices that you would see as significant to the reparations conversation? Clearly, we know Newsom has presidential ambitions, but that's kind of a moot point. He's done, right? We're on to the next. Any other offices that are up for election besides insurance commissioner, which you're running for?
I think all elected officials on the constitutional level, on the state level, should have a position in this. I mean, whether you're superintendent of public instruction, where do you stand on this? Because, again, education is key. And knowing that being taught about slavery in this country is critically important. Again, I'll state again, it's the miseducation that we continue to provide to so many Americans about who America really is. So I would want to know where my superintendent of public instruction stands on reparations. I would like to know, you know, where your lieutenant governor, because they oversee UCs and CSUs, I should say. They sit on the boards of that in our community colleges and making sure that they're committed to making sure that schools are accessible to folks who have been denied education for so long. So where you stand on reparations, I think I would like to know, you know, if you're running for office outside of maybe being a controller, where do you stand on those positions?
Why do you say outside of controller?
Well, I'm just saying they don't really affect policy, but they will direct the money. But, you know,
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But as far as, of course, I don't have, maybe somebody does. If you do, call me, 800-920-1580. I think public instruction is a great place to start because that's one of the things we do have to vote on that people really don't know. And there's a lot of folks running. I have no idea how any of these people would lean. Do you?
No, not at all. Well, I know a few that probably would be there. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, we can guess. We can guess. I don't know, though. I know that most, of the progressives are coalescing around Nichelle Henderson, who is a black woman, or Richard Barrera, who is a state superintendent advisor, and Nichelle Henderson is a college trustee. No thoughts on that? Okay. Well, what about, what was the other one you mentioned? What about lieutenant governor?
I mean, I would hope that they would have a voice and have a position on reparations and let folks know where they stand on that. Yeah, for sure.
So basically, we're going to have to figure it out based on their past positions, because most of these folks are never going to debate. They don't have a treasurer's debate.
No, they don't. Controller's debate.
Probably no one would watch it if they did.
Yeah.
So that's part of what makes it challenging. You know a lot of people, these people, from working with them over the years. But aside from what you do know, personally, where would you turn to find out how folks thinking, how they're voting, how they line up?
Look at their past records. Look at what they've done, and I'll tell you what they're going to do in the future. Look at what they've done in the past, and I think that's the best roadmap to who they are and what they'll do in the future. A lot of folks come with all these creative sound bites when they're running for office, but they have nothing to back much of what they're saying up. So look at what they've done, and if they have a track record of doing what they say, then that's what I would lean to. But if this is the first time and it's the new shiny object, that's the performative promises, I would stay away from that. I mean, really.
Yeah, and so I like Ballotpedia because they track how people vote.
Ballotpedia is a great source.
And I like to compare a lot of different voter guides.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look at the progressive ones, and I like to go see what the LA County Republican Party is recommending, because sometimes if I'm confused, they could send me back no. So cannabis has been used. Mm-hmm. Cannabis taxes have been used, notably in Evanston, but other municipalities as well, as a means of paying reparations or starting reparations funding. We haven't done that in California at all. In fact, I think the cannabis taxes here in the city of LA, and they go to the general fund, as far as I know.
Well, I had legislation to try to bring the taxes down because it's collapsing, it's killing this market, especially minority operators. As you well know, I authored 1294, the first social equity bill in the nation for cannabis, to allow women-owned, people of color, our disabled veterans to enter this space. And these folks are losing their livelihood. They're losing everything because we've done a poor job of regulating cannabis on the legal. The legal market is crushing all of these legal operators here in California. Just down the street, we have a black woman who has invested her entire life into standing at one of the best dispensaries I've ever been in, and she's struggling to keep the lights on because of the exorbitant taxes right now. And now we're talking about taxing the illegal operators. No, shut the illegal operators down, and give the resources to, these legal operators who are trying to provide those taxes to pay for some of these programs that we thought those revenues would generate.
So you're no on CB then,
Without a
Measure
doubt.
CB in the city of LA, which is tax the illegal, the unlicensed cannabis places. I mean, my initial reaction was, why don't you just shut them down?
Exactly.
And then I was told on this show by the sitting city attorney that we don't have the resources to shut them down.
But you have the resources to rush in on the legal guys every day. Every day in California, there is a legal operator who is having their store raided by law enforcement because they're behind on taxes for no other reason. Not that they're doing anything illegal, not that they're skirting the law, because they're behind on taxes.
Which is crazy. Imagine as an individual, if they could just come into your home and raid your home because you owe taxes.
Yes.
I mean, that's really scary. And I know at least one licensed cannabis dispensary that has experienced that, where they come in, start taking money out the cash register, and making it look like you're a drug dealer when you're a licensed operator.
Exactly. But tell me what one illegal operator has experienced that. I know of no illegal. There is a 24-hour unlicensed cannabis dispensary drive-through operating right now.
Drive-through.
24 hours. We all know cannabis dispensaries should be open past 10 p.m. It's open 24 hours, and it's a drive-through, and it's illegal. How do they operate? But again, the legal operators who are doing everything, have their license, following the laws, doing everything that they're supposed to do, and they're being raided on a regular basis.
That's really wild. Okay, well, now I think I may have made up my mind about CB. I mean, I've been going back and forth because on the one hand, I think, well, if you tax the illegal ones, then maybe the legal ones will be able to compete because the prices will level out. But how are they really going to collect those taxes? If you can't shut them down, how are you going to tax them?
If you can't collect the taxes from the legal operators because they're struggling, how are you going to get it from the illegal operators? Yeah. It just doesn't. That theory doesn't make sense to me.
Where did we fail on the social equity? I mean, this was one of the pieces. If black people and other BIPOC people were the most impacted by the so-called war on drugs, which often was really just a war on us.
Yes.
Where did we fail? Because not that many black folks got legal cannabis licenses. We know a lot of folks were had people fronting for them. We know other communities, Armenians and others who were not necessarily targeted by the war on drugs, became minorities and got those licenses because they had
those zip codes.
Where did we go wrong?
Again, on the exorbitant taxes, the requirement to have a brick and mortar facility before you can even get your license. Many of these folks were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt already before they even, open their doors. Prop 64, we were excited to pass it, but when you read the fine print, it was fraught with all kind of, problems in that. I mean, to have a brick and mortar facility first, a doctor's not required to have a brick and mortar facility before you get a license. A beautician or, is not required. A barber's not required to have a brick and mortar. I mean, they're like a brick and mortar facility before they get a license. So why should a cannabis operators? So many of these folks start hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and properties that were renting for maybe $2,500 a month, $2,000, $2,500, went up to $10,000, went up to $15,000 a month because they knew they had a captured audience with a cannabis dispensary. They knew those folks had to have this facility. So they quadrupled the rent on most of these properties. And these folks were underwater before they even opened the doors.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Senator Steven Bradford is with us. It's a Freedmen Friday, and we are putting a reparationist lens on the election, which is going on right now. I mean, you can vote right now. The last day to do so is June 2nd. I'm Dominique DePrima, and this is KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhood safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by Re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction,
backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, it's Freedmen Friday. That means we talk about reparations, and we're looking at reparations in elections. I don't know that I've ever had this conversation before, but it's certainly been enlightening. Sherry Bell's in the chat saying Measure CB was supported by various chambers of commerce, which actually surprises me. But certainly I've gotten some clarity talking to you and talking to Sherry, who had a similar position to you, Senator Bradford. One thing she also brings up, which I think is worth discussing in the context of reparations and elections, is that because of the fail of the CLBC around your bills, a lot of folks, reparationists, are still holding a grudge, are still protesting, are still very angry at members of the CLBC, even though some of them have moved or tried to move legislation forward. At what point do we let go of this? At what point do we hold our governor accountable? At what point do we move on and say, okay, we need to unite behind our black leaders, or is this accountability at this point?
I mean, it's a little bit of both, but I think you have to move on. I mean, we're not getting anywhere by continue to attack. So we got to find a way to come together cohesively and move in a very productive, direction to bring forth reparations. And we need everybody at the table. We got to stop the blame game. We got to stop the finger pointing, and we got to have the hard talk, and let our bygones be bygones. I mean, remember what happened, but we got to get past this right now and find a way to come together, because they want to divide and conquer, and that's what we're seeing right now. And it's not productive, and it's not going to move the needle on what we really want to achieve with reparations if we're attacking one another.
How are you feeling about the agency or bureau? I think it's an agency, right?
Well, that's what my bill would have established, the agency 1403. There's really no bureau that's been established. It's more of assigning it to the CSUs. And again, they will continue to study genealogy. You had some of the leading genealogists, not only in the state, but in the country, saying that's what we do. And so the universities are going to have to come and call upon them in order to get that information anyway. So why not have done this standalone agency within one of the departments? We did it for Native American Affairs. Why couldn't we have done it here for reparations for African Americans?
So what was passed to you does not constitute that?
No, not at all. It's just a continuation of the study, and it's going to depend on a whole lot more outside resources in order to achieve the long-term goal of having an agency that will oversee and determine what reparations looks like and how you get it to the people who are most deserving of it.
Yeah. DW757 says we're never moving on until reparations is done. The CLBC needs to take accountability. Yeah, I get that. I think the CLBC is also a bunch of individual electeds who have moved in their own ways since that fail, and some have actually gotten some stuff done. And I think we need to be also tracking that clear, or whether they've tried to get something done or they've actually accomplished something. Has anything piqued your interest or impressed you that's been done around reparations since you've been out of state office?
I don't know. I mean, what I was trying to do with 1050 was deal with racially motivated taking of property during eminent domain. My former district director, now Assemblymember Tina McKenna, she moved that bill last year. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed it again, but that's critically important. So I commend her for picking up the mantle and moving forward with that. We first have to establish a funding mechanism. Again, I had 1331 that clearly provided a way to fund reparations. Not until it's in the budget is it real. And that's what we've always said in the legislature. If it is not in the budget, it doesn't exist. And I've often argued that a 0.5%, not 5%, 0.5% of the state budget should be in a reparations fund. As we call, that's budget dust, okay? And so it would not be missed, and that would equate to about $1.5 billion a year that we can put and fund reparations. It's just a start. But, until you fund it, until it's in the budget, it's not real. I was able to get to $12 million, 3 years ago into the budget for reparations. But that was just a starting point to make sure that we had something to lean on to establish what the governor said we didn't have the resources to do. That's what that $12 million was supposed to do, help, build the agency and stand it up in the beginning.
And that $12 million is over in the study now? Is that where it went? Do we know where it went?
I'm not quite sure how it's being spent right now.
Oh, it's a mystery. $12 million.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me. I haven't been able to figure that out. Okay, we just got a couple minutes left here. Time flies when you're on the radio. I'm so grateful that you came in today.
No, thank you.
Senator Steve Bradford. I know you're running for insurance commissioner. What would you want to make us pay attention to this election season?
Making sure we get out and vote. If African Americans turn out, if everyone in your home votes, everyone that we know is registered to vote, we will have the outcome that we want. But if we stay at home, it's doom and gloom. Our voices are heard the loudest when we show up at the polls. And as you see on the national level, they're trying to silence our votes. So that's what I'm most passionate about, is making sure that we're voting. It's so many people that I've encountered in the last 2 to 3 months, as recently as this week, that says, "Oh, when's the election?"
Yikes.
That's scary.
The election is now. Yeah.
Exactly. There's I said, "Have you gotten your?" "Oh, I don't know. I got to look." "Oh, I'm not in your district," or "I'm this." I was like, these are statewide issues we're talking about. This is you vote on them regardless of where you live. But it's so many uninformed voters, and that's what scares me right now.
Yeah. How do we track you? How do we keep track of what you're up to?
I don't know, StevenBradford.com or
StevenBradford.com.
Golly, I always forget my own, BradfordForCalifornia.com.
There you go.
Yeah, BradfordForCalifornia.com.
BradfordForCalifornia.com. All right, that's where we can track what you're up to.
Yeah.
And if you missed the beginning of this conversation where Senator Bradford broke down the slavery era insurance registry, the law that made that possible, and what he would like to do about it, I suggest you go on YouTube and listen back, because it's all there, and I guarantee you there's some stuff you don't know about.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's so many of us don't know about that. So many folks are unaware of this registry.
Senator Steven Bradford, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dominique.
All right, we're talking mayoral race when we come forward. Reverend Ray Wong joins me. She's challenging the incumbent mayor, Karen Bass, in the election right now. We'll hear what she has to say after this.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Chicago leaders are rolling out a new summer safety strategy ahead of Memorial Day weekend. Black Mayor Brandon Johnson says the plan boosts resources in high crime areas.
And this summer, we will continue leaning into what works, our partnerships, our investments, and of course, coordination.
He's urging parents to talk with teens about the risks of large gatherings. Charges have been dismissed against a former Virginia school administrator tied to a 2023 classroom shooting. Ebony Parker had faced felony child neglect charges, but a judge ruled the evidence did not meet the legal standard for a conviction. And Spelman College is making history with 7 valedictorians in its class of 2026. The graduates, Nia Sarai Perry, Ayana Ringo, Alyssa Richardson, Coriana White, Sophia Davis, Mariama Diallo, and Alexis Sims are known as the Spelman 7, sharing top honors. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams are acting like they want to keep quarterback Matthew Stafford around for 2 more years. The 38-year-old Stafford is under contract for the coming season, but the Rams gave the reigning MVP a 1-year extension worth $55 million. The extension keeps Stafford under contract through the 2027 season if he chooses to play that long. San Antonio Spurs star Victor Wembanyama, in just his 3rd NBA season, has something in common with Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Wembanyama and Kareem are